This seems a bit like a time travel today. So we are using the Helios 44-2. It's a very, very old lens produced in the former Soviet Union. Well, it is basically a biotar, so it is a size copy. I believe that they just cut open the biotar in half and just looked how it was built and just recreated this lens. And from what I saw with this lens, well, it's pretty damn good, I must say. When I was younger, when I got my first SLR camera, I was about 5 years old. It was a Zenit A, I believe, and this lens was mounted to that camera when it came out of the box. Well, it was kind of an old box because, of course, this camera has seen the better of life already. I was 5 in 1991, so this camera was pretty old, but it was good. And I used this lens during the first years of photography, and later on I still use this lens when shooting video for special occasions. Yeah, so if you need a specific effect. And I noticed that this lens produced a very good amount of 3D pop, at least when I compared it to my medium format film cameras. And this is of course the case because we have a very low element count and no corrected glass whatsoever. So we have 6 elements in 4 groups, which will give us a ratio of 1.5. That's a pretty good ratio. And we have 2 complex groups, which will give us a dispersion of 0.33. So this is a very, very good lens. It should give very nice rendition, very nice tonality, and of course 3D pop. Nothing is corrected and we have a very low element count. Right now we have this lens mounted to full frame Sony, an old sensor with a very good pixel pitch ratio, and this adds to the effect. So I believe this to look very beautiful despite me being in the picture. So what do you think? I will now mount this lens on an APS-C Sony on the A6700. Taking the chance of being in focus right now, I have no idea. I try to focus on something right next to my head. I wonder what that could be. So now we are on APS-C Sony 6700, and I think there's still some of the effect visible. What do you think? Because the pixel pitch on the Sony 6700 is very low, so it should not produce a nice and, well, tonal image like the Sony A7S will. So I think this camera flattens out a little bit of the rendition of this lens, and it will take away a good amount of 3D pop that this lens produces. And of course, since we have a smaller sensor, we do not have that shallow depth of field like with a full frame sensor in the Sony A7S. I also tested this lens on the Fuji X-T3, and it gave a very good amount of 3D pop, but the sensor is different. So it's not only the size of the sensor, it is the pixel pitch that matters, at least for this effect. And this lens is not that sharp, it's not that clear, it's a little bit milky, but it's pretty versatile. 58mm will give you a very good distance to your subject on APS-C. The problem is that if you want to film yourself like I'm right now, and you do not have a cameraman, then you will have to guess the focus a bit, because the curvature is a little bit different than on modern lenses. So I focused on this rose here, and I'm in line with this rose, but still there is a chance of not being in focus at all. I've had it last year when I tried this lens. I put it away like 20 meters and I focused exactly. And then when I sat there and talked, well, I was out of focus completely and I did not touch anything. So it's better to have someone to film you, but if you are behind the camera shooting photos or filming, this lens is very good and it produces a very good image, a very good tonality, very deep image, true to life image. And this is what I love about the older lenses, or even the modern lenses with a lower element count. We got another scene here, and this should give us a good amount of pop still on the A6700 APS-C. If you use APS-C cameras, I think there are more practical alternatives that also produce some pop, if it is what you're looking for. If you're just looking for a sharp image, do not use this lens, simply spoken. It will not produce sharp images like Sigmas or even the Sony's or native lenses in general. This is kind of a vintage feeling. If you want to achieve that in your movies, in your videos, in your photos, then it's a good lens, very good, but I would recommend using it on full frame. And this lens, maybe you have a camera with an older sensor, it will give you such a nice and pleasant image. It's not about the perfect picture, it's not about the perfect image, it doesn't have to be perfect. We want to feel it, we want to feel the video, the film, the movie, whatever you're doing, we want to feel the photos. And it's not about sharpness all the time, it's not about the most contrasty image or most after manipulated image. It's not something that I personally need. I want true to life images. I want to feel images like from my childhood when I looked at pictures from my parents when they were younger. The pictures seemed more real to life. They had this 3D pop effect, even though I did not know what it was. But I liked these pictures more than the modern pictures. So it's something that we feel, it's something that we can, well, relate to. It's more pleasant to the eye, at least in my opinion. This is why vintage cameras, vintage lenses give us a way better feeling of a beautiful world. Because the more flat the image gets, the less we can associate with what we see on the image. Of course they are sharper, of course they are better, but better only in a technical sense, not better in regards to what we feel when looking at this picture. So let me know what you think in the comments below, and see you in the next one.